What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Phones and Drones. For those of you that follow the channel know, we just did our unboxing of that new MacBook Air. So this M2 MacBook Air got a complete redesign. It is much more in line with the rest of Apple's MacBook lineup. Gone are those tempered thin edges in that envelope shape package that it used to come in. Now they all look like the MacBook Pros and all that, with notches and everything else to go along with it. This MacBook Air has gotten a lot of criticism for the single SSD, slower write speeds on the base model, so we're not going to jump into the actual specs of the device for the internals. For today's video though, a lot of people were curious about the 13-inch MacBook Air in comparison to the 14-inch MacBook Pro. So I can tell you just from using this device for the last couple of weeks, it's great, guys. Like, it can't keep up with what the Pro does. It does get throttled pretty easily depending on what you're doing. You're not going to be doing a whole bunch of heavy 8K video editing, but that's not who this computer is designed for. Let's take a look at the factors behind it, these dimensions, the screens, which is really the defining point on these two machines to me personally. Let's jump right into it. Alright, you guys can see both MacBooks right here, that new 13-inch Air and 14-inch MacBook Pro. This is obviously in that new midnight shade, and yeah, if you saw that unboxing video, depending on what way the light hits it, it is a lot darker or lighter of a blue. I really like this design on this. Again, guys, look how thin this baby is. I really like that it doesn't taper off, that it is uniform in design over the past generation's models. It looks great. It is really super thin and easy to hold. I do like that they have that headphone jack on the side. You have 4 speakers on here as well. That MagSafe port. You have 2 USB-C ports now. Again, it is finally freed up since you don't have to charge via USB Type-C. I love this machine. Obviously, you're aware of the new design philosophy here. We have that notch in the 13.6-inch display. So it is a good size device. Let me set this down here for a minute. And then weighing in a lot heavier is that 14-inch MacBook Pro. And you guys can see here, you have your MagSafe adapter, those 2 USB Type-C ports, and the headphone jack. You can see the cooling fans on the side, or I should say the gaps for where the air escapes from those fans. You have that HDMI port, the card reader, and an additional USB Type-C port. So, and before you guys ask, yes, this is a stand on the back. This is not standard, so that little extra girth is from that. But you can see exactly the difference in size in relation to the Air and the Pro side by side. Pull them up for you guys. It is by no means super crazy, but it is noticeable. What Apple is able to do here is amazing with this new Air. A lot of people were talking about maybe they'll bring back the 12-inch Air. It just was ahead of its time, and I would agree. I hope they bring it back with Apple Silicon in it. A 12-inch in this form factor would be great. So one other call out before I break into the displays of these devices. You guys can see it right off the bat. This thing is a fingerprint magnet. So not so much an issue on this one, on the Pro, but something to keep in mind. Again, not a deal breaker. You can spend that $19 and get that polishing cloth and it will come right off, but just something for you guys to be aware of. Let's go ahead and take a look at both of these displays. I know it's hard to tell from these videos, but both of these displays look really good, actually. I can tell you right off the bat, there is still no comparison to this Retina HDR display here. It looks so much more vibrant and lively than what you're getting on the Air, but again, not a substantial enough difference for you to justify spending that extra money if you don't want to. Again, you can see the similar design language here. You have the notches on the Air as well as the Pro. The keyboard layout, exactly the same. Full-size keyboards, same Touch ID on the power button, and it works great. We can turn these all up to max brightnesses. Yes, the peak brightness as well does look better on the Pro, but you can see what you can get. The way the speakers are positioned here, they are a little different as well. Obviously, you have these front facing speakers on the Pro, and on the Air, they actually are facing the screen right in between this crack. I don't think you guys are going to be able to see it in here, but they are actually right down below. The notch is not as big of a deal as you might expect it to be. Obviously, everyone's kind of used to them at this point, even though Apple's going to change the notch up this year. On their flagship products, that is what they have for a couple of years, and it does kind of disappear as you go on with your daily day-to-day routines. The M2 chip on the Air works very, very fast. Again, like I said in my intro here, this is the base model. This is that 8 gig, 256 RAM. Yeah, I've had no issues with it. I use Wondershare Filmora all the time, editing 4K clips, never push it to 8K. I do the same on the Pro, but again, I have had no issues with the base M2. So take that for what you want, depending on what you're going to use it for. Could make or break what you decide to purchase, but again, you don't necessarily need to spend that extra money if you don't want to. One call out that is a substantial difference in YouTube. And you can see they both fly. No issues with either of them. But if you pull up an HDR video, the way these displays, and I'm gonna go ahead and mute all this. The way that these screens display the HDR content is night and day on the Pro over what you're getting in the Air. So you can see right off the bat, the Air didn't even pick it up in HDR, whereas the Pro did. Let's see if we can force it in the settings. Can't even do it. Aside from that, what you haven't heard about a lot, these trackpads. This trackpad right here on the actual Pro is much, much better than what you're getting on the Air. The Air by no means feels bad, but it is just not as satisfying to use, as weird as that sounds. The click doesn't seem to move as deep down as it does on the actual Pro. And it's just, it could be a me thing, but let me know in the comments what you guys think about that. So, from sleep and all that, they all still work the same way. Just as instant on as you would assume. Fingerprint sensors are speedy. And yeah, they look and work great. I don't want to ramble on this video, guys. You get the idea. You can see the size comparison here alone. I'll actually turn these so you can see the difference in size. Substantially higher and more thickness on the Pro, as you would expect. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. You guys picking one up? Are you sold on the base model Air, or are you going to spend more and get the higher end M2 Air? Thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you in the next one. Peace.